With just a simple computer and an internet connection, my next guests have managed to turn simple ideas into multi-million-dollar businesses. They're in Dublin for a conference which has gathered together the founders of some of the best-known technology companies in the world. I'd like you to please welcome the founder of Twitter, Mr. Jack Dorsey, the founder of Bebo, Michael Birch, and the man whose idea it was to bring them all together, Paddy Cosgrave. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Well, Jack, I'll start with you if I may.
Excellent.
You know, there's a lot of people who... I'm a fan of Twitter. I use it all the time. But there's a lot of people going, what's all this Twitter, you know, and they don't get it. So would you mind, for those who aren't initiated into that world, tell us what it is?
It's a very simple way to just update what's happening around you. And you can do it from the web, you can do it from your mobile phone, and you can just share what's happening, what you're seeing on the street, or what you find interesting or not interesting. You share your opinions in real time. Okay, and then other people can read it if they choose to. Absolutely,
and
they can reply, and you follow each other, and it's just a big new way to communicate.
Okay, and who tends to use it and why?
It ranges. Individuals, companies, President Obama is on it, governments, organizations, celebrities, and they use it to connect with the people around them and to humanize a lot of the organizations. But everyone has a different reason to use it and to consume it, and that's the best part about it, is it's a true utility where people are defining it every single day. Okay, now we're going to talk about some of these ideas that have made you all into millionaires and so on, but it's not as much about the money as about the creativity. I think that's interesting, and the can-do spirit, if you like. I mean, Twitter, which has done so well for you. Look at where it came about. This is talking about the idea written on the back of a cigarette packet. I mean, that's your sketch, and I love that because it shows that it's obviously not as simple as that, but that's where it came from. Your head spills onto that, literally. Is that how it worked? Well, that's the best thing about it, is a very simple spark of an idea, and then the users took it and they defined it for themselves. And they really, you know, everything you see successful about Twitter, the retweet, the @reply, the word tweet, all came from the users. It didn't come from the company. So it's a very open-ended idea that people can define in whatever way they wish and use in whatever way they wish. All right, Michael, let's talk about Bebo for a minute, because this was your brainchild. And again, remind us what it is and was and has done.
Well, the best analogy now is probably to compare it with Facebook, which is probably fairly sad, but it was actually happened after Facebook, about a year after, but it took off for some reason in Ireland very early on, and it was a social network. And our aim was to try and have the self-expression of MySpace and the utility and product quality of Facebook. Okay, and who was using it at the time when it was at its peak? It started with mainly 20-year-olds, and as we went live, we were actually quite an open network, and it tended to trend young. So as people saw younger people on it, it sort of became less cool if you were older. So it just kind of skewed and ended up being a mainly teenage website. Okay, but you did manage to get out. It was a very timely sense of departure, if you like, and you sold it at a peak time. And can you remind us how much you sold it for? 850 million US. US dollars. Yeah. Okay. Are people still using it? Yeah, I know both the users now. It's a bit like that, is it? Yeah. And I mean, I suppose it's important to say that you had a few ideas before Twitter became your, I suppose, big cash cow. But what sort of things were you doing, you know, before? Well, I'll ask you this, Michael, if I may. Before Bebo. I mean, people know you for the thing that succeeds, and the reality is that most entrepreneurs do many things before that. Yeah. So we did 5 websites before that. We started in '99. We had 3 that failed, 2 that succeeded, and then we started Bebo in 2005. Okay, let's talk about some of the things that didn't work, and as well as that did work. So what kind of went by the wayside? So we started with a website called Lemon Link, which was a terrible name, but it was equivalent to Plaxo, if you know that. It's a self-updating address book. Okay. We had our first child, and therefore did a baby-related website called Babysitting Circle, which enabled you to babysit for other families in exchange for time. So there was no money changing hands, just time. Okay. And then we did a will writing service called Friendly Wills. That was when we were getting desperate and thought we needed to make some money. So picked a fairly morbid subject and thought we could make money at it, which we didn't. So they were our 3 failures. And then we did a website called Birthday Alarm, which we actually still own. It's the only business that we didn't sell. And that reminded you of birthdays and had greeting cards. And then we did an early social network called Ringo.com, which we sold for about $2 million in 2003. And then we had a non-compete, which excluded us from doing anything for a while. So when we launched Ringo, we were one of the very earliest social networks. And then by the time we started Bebo, MySpace was the biggest website in the US by time spent. So we kind of missed that initial wave. And then obviously we did Bebo, so it was a long journey. It wasn't quick.
But again, I think, Paddy, what's interesting about the stories from a lot of the people that you brought into the country this last few days is that, particularly the American model, which is if you fail, you pick yourself back up again, and people will not look at you down at you. They'll say, okay, good man, you got up again. Tends to be very different in this country, whatever the rest of Europe, that if you fail, it's hard to get back up again because the support isn't there.
I think it's hugely different in Ireland.
Yeah.
In Silicon Valley, and the guys will tell you, it's a badge of honour almost to fail. And many of the entrepreneurs, over 100 of them in Dublin this weekend, and most of them have failed at one point or another. Some of them multiple times. I think in Ireland we don't just have a cultural issue and problem with it, and that also extends into the rest of Europe. We also have legislation that doesn't really help. Laws, bankruptcy laws that are incredibly punitive for those that whose business